Hey guys, welcome back to Squad Review Episode 8, a series where I review your squads and I give feedback to hopefully help you improve. I am suffering from a little bit of a cold, so apologies if I don't sound as enthusiastic as usual. Not that I usually do. Let's go. First up, we have Knubili, and he's someone who used to play narrow formations, and now he's trying out using wide players, but somehow he can't get used to having wingers, so he's found the sweet spot of using wide midfielders. There's absolutely nothing wrong in doing that. I've been saying for a long time, having wide midfielders compared to wingers actually can provide a bit more balance, though in this case that might drain your player's stamina a bit more, since Ronaldinho and Messi both don't have great stamina. But I have more of a problem with your choice of fullbacks. I personally wouldn't use that Saka at left back, not at least it looks like you're using auto build. And also Araujo at right back, sure he can play there, but his stats are more suitable for a centre back. And also with inactive play style at fullbacks, he'll run up and down, and he doesn't have great stamina to do that. Kimmich actually would make a good right back as well, so I would potentially do that and maybe look to put a proper right back on the bench. Apart from that, again, just don't use auto build. Next, we have Rally Kali, and when he says, "Trust me, this formation works," I was expecting something worse. In attack, with the attacking instruction on Alvarez, yes, this formation just functions like a normal 4-3-3. In defense, you have deep line on Beckenbauer, which makes it more like a back five. And so you said that's why you put Alvarez at AMF, so he can come back to help defend. But don't forget, this is 2 CMFs and 1 AMF. Not only does that mean you lack the numbers at the front to press, but in my very quick testing, it would seem like there's still a bit of a gap between the back line and the midfield. I generally advise against using deep line and DMFs, precisely because of this reason. Yes, I know I used that in my 2CB formation, but I use that to recreate a back 3 rather than a back 5, so you're sacrificing a midfielder to add an extra defender that you don't really need. So I would personally probably just use a normal 4-3-3, but I do admire the creativity here. Next, we have Detron X, and I don't really understand this formation. First of all, let's talk about the instructions. You have attacking on Roberto Carlos, who's already an attacking fullback, so he'll position more like a left midfielder during attacks. Then you have defensive on Upamecano, who's a centre back, which doesn't do anything. And then again, we have deep line on a DMF, which forces Hazard to drop down to help defending, which with his stamina might not be a good thing. Then you said you trained Upamecano with 88 pace, but he has very low acceleration. In this update, having high speed but low acceleration is kind of useless. And please don't use Kimmich as a CB. If your opponent is using anyone tall, then Kimmich is going to be no match to them. What's with everyone using a DMF as a CB? But yeah, something's really strange about this formation. First of all, Kante doesn't really suit the number 10 role, but if you want Carlos to join attack a bit more, then maybe just play him as a left midfielder and move Kante down a little bit, so you have a double pivot, replace Upamecano with a right back maybe, or even a back 3, then Hazard can play at the number 10 role. By the way, what's Luka doing there? Next, we have Noob in the lobby, and this actually looks like a decent squad, but the only downside is your instructions. Attacking on Messi, maybe I can get by that, but attacking on your attacking midfielder, which basically turns him into a centre forward during attacks. And so what happens is that you'll end up having a 2-man midfield, so that's a bit aggressive for me. But then in defense, again, you have deep line on Rijkaard, which again turns him into centre back. Again, so you left with 2 midfielders in the centre. So you have 2 instructions that kind of compromises your midfield structure. I think you'd actually be okay without those 2 instructions, so maybe try that. Next, we have Pyroval42, and he's actually written quite a big rationale behind his team. I appreciate that a lot. And so basically, he mentioned that his team is based on a lot of players who can play on either side. So Neymar and Griezmann can interchange with each other, Cancelo also with Costa Curta, and Messi can also play on the right wing as well. And then you can also put Batistuta on. So this definitely comes in handy. And I totally get it about Cancelo. He's such a great player in this game, and it's a shame that you didn't get the nominating contract version of him. But yeah, squad looks very decent. Well done. Next, we have Sempak Rebus. He says this is basically a classic possession 4-3-3 with a very inverted right wing forward. I can see the thinking behind it, but the thing about inverted winger is they can be inverted if they want to, but at the same time they can hug the touchline if they need to as well. Doing this in the game means that he'll be always inverted, which doesn't give you a lot of flexibility, and also that means that you won't have the option for a switch. Wingers will naturally drift inside if there's already someone attacking the flank, so get your fullbacks involved, then you wouldn't have to do this. And also don't use auto-build. And then we have Messi Boy with a 4-2-4 formation. I've already made a video on why no one should ever use 4-2-4 again. But basically, if you face someone who knows how to keep the ball or use their midfield, your midfield is going to get bullied so hard. Not least when one of your midfielders is Raul. So basically you have 5 defenders and 5 attackers, there's no midfield at all. Dragging the fullbacks down to be level with the keeper is not going to do anything, they're not going to stay back. So I would probably start with either Batistuta or Pele and then move one of the attackers down to a CMF, and instantly that would be so much more balanced. And again, don't use auto build please. Next we have Josefe with a squad that was inspired by Barcelona 2010 and 11 season. You've got quite a lot of the OG Barcelona players already, so for a half-themed squad, this is not bad, and it looks very fun. But I can't help to think that this looks a bit forced. I know you wanted to recreate Messi as a false 9, but as a result, you push David Villa a bit to the left as a CF, and then Neymar is having a play on the right. I understand why you put Villa on the left as a CF, because you probably want him to get closer to the goal and shoot more. But I always strongly advise against using a wide CF as a replacement for a winger, because they just never position that wide, and the result is you often left with a big space on the flank that no one's going to use. Sure, he might move a bit wider if you're on the left or you start a counter-attack on that side, but for the rest of the time he doesn't really stay out wide. But even if you look at real-life games, David Villa often stayed out wide to stretch out the pitch when he needed to, so he's not always close to the centre. So maybe training him as a left winger and play him as a left winger might be a bit better, or even play Neymar on the left and maybe put Julie on the right. I like the idea though, but sadly I think this suffers from the lack of flexibility in the game's tactics. Last squad of this episode we have Kungslao. And Kungslao here is someone who just plays for fun. He doesn't necessarily field the most meta players or the best players, but he plays with players that resonate with him, you know? So we got the likes of Gary Medel, who's a Chilean legend, and also De La Cruz as well. I mean, I've always been a big fan of him in this game, and I've got his River Plate nominating contract version of him. But yeah, the squad definitely looks very fun. He's got a lot of nimble players. Kante, Denilson, Neymar, Bebeto, they're all very good on the ball. And he's also got the legendary upside down Baleba CB card. Again, maybe not the best CB, but the fun factor is definitely there. The only thing I can say is, again, don't use auto build because you don't need 101 dribbling on Neymar and Denilson. So that's it for this episode, guys. Let me know which squad you enjoyed the most, and if you want to send in your squad to be reviewed, then use the link in the description. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.